guys, and welcome back to another episode of Fit and Focus for Remote Work and Digital Nomads podcast. My name is Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your brains coach, and someone with a lot of passion for helping you guys to learn all the brain tools you can use to feel, do, and look your absolute best. And today, guys, it's another episode on habits. And specifically, you're going to learn 3 things that people usually don't do on autopilot that makes the process of building habits less effective or less efficient, I'd rather say. And it takes you perhaps longer because of not doing these 3 things takes you longer to build habits. And why habits? Why I'm so passionate about talking about habits in general? Because I mentioned, right, that I'm here to help you to do absolutely everything better. And most of the behaviors that we want to do in life, things that we want to start doing to get consistent long-term results in our life, all those things, we need to make them habits to make them consistent. Because if we have to think about every single action we need to do consciously, it will always feel like a lot of work, and we at some point will quit it. So habits are kind of like the ways of our brain to start, well, not kind of, but exactly like that, start doing certain actions on autopilot so they do not require additional thinking resources that you can be dedicated to something else, perhaps more important in your day. Habits are automatic programs that just run by themselves. Once you install them correctly, they require very little resources, cognitive resources, your thinking, your decision making to make them happen. And that's where you want to be with those behaviors that you need to do for days, weeks, months, and years. It's like taking a shower, brushing your teeth, right? You got to make it a habit because you want the results of healthy teeth and healthy body. You want them every day till the rest of your life, right? So at some point you had to make it your habit. But so is with a lot of results we want in our life. Sometimes we want them for life, let's say fitness, sometimes or healthy sleep. Sometimes we want them for a period of our time, like when we're growing our business, focusing on reaching out to people on social media content might be the thing that we want to focus on right now. So but still, in order to make them consistent, to produce results consistently for a period of time, whichever long that period of time is, we need to make them habitual. And research shows that on average, it takes about 66 to 254 days to build a habit. So it's going to take quite some time for most habits. But still, 66 is much shorter period of time than 254, right? What does it depend on how long it takes? Usually it depends on the kind of habit you're trying to make happen. Is it an easy habit for you? Something that is easily implemented into your life? Is it something hard for you? Do you have to learn a lot of new skills or not at all? Right? How complex the habit is. But also it depends on those protocols that are more effective in helping you building long-term habits. When you use them, you're going to build habits faster. When you don't use them, you're going to be building habits longer. And so in this podcast today, I'm going to give you 3 points about building habits as a process that, from my experience as a coach, I've been in coaching for more than a decade now, for actually a couple of decades, if you also consider my career as a coach for our athletics team or our dance team that I did in college and high school. So I've been in coaching for quite a while, but specifically, I've started focusing on the science of building habits, of helping people to change behavior long-term, right, in my adult coaching career. And from my experience, I noticed these 3 things that people would not automatically think about them as important things to help them to build long-term habits. But research shows that they are actually very effective at helping us shortcut this process of building habits. So what are those 3 things that I noticed? Number 1, trying to make it super difficult from the beginning, going for some challenge, make it complex, trying to make it more perfect. It's kind of, I bundle all of that in one thing. You're trying to make the step of new habit too complex, too big, too hard. And maybe at some point in your life, you need that complex thing, but to start building the repetition that will ensure faster building of habits, you need to start small. Tiny, in fact. There is a book, Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. He is a researcher, and I believe he works in Stanford. He researches human behavior and the, how we change behavior, how it's better to what processes are best to choose to change our behavior. And he has a book, Tiny Habits, that goes into this process. He even works for corporations to help them change different routines and processes on a company-wide level. But what I'm trying to say here, this is a mistake. Going for them 30-day fitness challenge most often does not result in long-term fitness. Now, it might sound really great. You did this great challenge, but then if you don't stick with that, your results will disappear in some short time in the future. You are better off taking on consistent habit of, let's say, walking an hour a day than some 30-day challenge and then becoming a couch potato for the rest of your life because you start thinking that fitness is just too complex, right? That's what also happens. Like, we go for these difficult things and we can't do them because it's just too complex, too difficult. And then we decide, well, maybe this whole thing is not for me. Well, maybe not. Maybe just you chose a very complex thing, and that's why you were not able to stick with that. Choose something better, something smaller, something that you totally can't imagine yourself doing every day, something that feels tiny and easy. That's how you get a start. Also, I was talking about that on this new social media platform, NotePD, in comments with one of the people there. And he said, for me also what helped is not trying to be perfect. Like, let's say you decided to exercise every day. Well, on Monday you did 10-minute workout only, although you planned the whole hour. It's still the habit. You still showed up. You still did the action. Not trying to be perfect is amazing. You still gotta celebrate it. You still gotta mark it as accomplished. I like to say consistency first, intensity second. To build a habit, the mistake that most people always do, especially people into achieving things, but also it's just our impatience. We want everything and fast. We want results fast. But you see, if you want results fast, you still gotta stay consistent. And more often than not, trying to do it fast will cancel that consistency, and with that, the result that you want in the first place. So first, consistency, and then the complexity, intensity, if it's needed, if it's truly needed for your ultimate goal that you want to have for some period of time in your life, maybe for your entire life, right? So consistency first, intensity second. Make it tiny, make it simple. First, I recommend first 30 days, if this is the habit that is completely new to you, maybe you've never been into exercise, I'm using this as an example, then start super simple for the next 30 days. Just show up at the same time every day for 10 minutes, YouTube workout or Les Mills on demand workout on one of those apps, whatever you choose, make it super simple. Show up every day and mark it in your calendar. Okay, I did it. And here's another point that I want to jump right into that people forget. People think it's silly. It is based in our brain chemistry. It based on the way our brain is wired, how it functions. What I'm talking about, you gotta celebrate each time you do the habit. If you want to wire your habit faster, because every time you make yourself feel good, you start releasing dopamine, the molecule that is released when we are rewarded, when we accomplish something and we feel good, that it is meaningful to us. Dopamine is released, and whatever dopamine is released with get wired, get remembered get recorded in our brain much faster. This is what you're doing by making yourself feel good. And you gotta not fake it, you got to really feel good. Like you did your exercise, you're like, yeah, I did it today, yay. Really feel good. Like you don't need chocolate, you don't need anything external. You just need to make yourself feel really, really good. And to the purpose of that, where also people make mistake is they celebrate not in the right time. You got to celebrate right then and there. You have 20-30 second window when your brain can make the association between the habit, the action, and the feeling good. If you decide to exercise for a week and then reward yourself with, let's say, spa center visit, that's not going to be wired in your brain, because the action and the reward, they are separated. That's how your brain does not work. So you gotta make yourself feel good right then when you finish your habit. Like what I do for my writing to make it habitual, to make myself show up for my longer blogs every week. Once I finish my blog, I celebrate. I go high-five myself in the mirror. I jump like, whoo, I did it, right? Celebrate in the moment. And what happens, then you think more about that. It's like, that felt good. I want to do more of that. Your brain will remind you about that thing that felt good. So celebration, the right kind of celebration, 20-30 seconds later in that window right after your habit, that's what will help you to build habits faster. In general, guys, whatever you do in emotionally charged or just an emotional state, whether negative or positive, you will remember it better. But positive rewards, it wires things much faster. And yeah, it just gotta be in the same time frame. It's gotta be right around that behavior. You can celebrate while you're doing the habit, feeling good, and right after doing the habit. And the last hack that also not so many people do at all. Like some people do it kind of automatically. Myself, I do it now automatically just because I've been in the space of coaching for so long. But a lot of my clients do not do that. So I'm talking about habit recipes and sandwiches. You'll understand exactly what I mean in a second. Habit sandwiches. When you decide to, let's continue with the exercise example. You decided to exercise, but that can be anything, guys. Doing sales call, looking for jobs, that can be creating content, that can be starting learning new language, that can be maybe doing one difficult conversation that you usually avoid in your day. That can be anything, guys. What you gotta do after you decided to do that habit, you decided to start exercising, right then and there, you gotta figure out the recipe, answering the questions, how, when, and where I'm gonna do that. How, when, and where. So exercise. How? I'm gonna do a 10-minute workout using this YouTube channel or this YouTube video, right? Or this app. This is how. When? I'm going to do it right after I wake up in the morning. 10-minute workout right after first thing in the morning. When? Where? I'm going to do it in my living room. By how? Also, if you need some equipment, you got to make sure that you have that equipment. You got to make sure that your clothes is available easily. You got to make sure that all the equipment, mats, whatever it is, make it super, super easy. But when you decide to do any habit, you got to answer these questions. How, when, and where. And this is the habit recipe. How, when, and where. What is a habit sandwich? Habit sandwich makes this recipe even more powerful. You gotta sandwich in your new habit in between things you already do. So exercise. When I wake up, go to the bathroom and brush my teeth, I'm gonna start exercising. After that, I'm gonna take a shower. Where is the sandwich? So you already waking up every morning, you already brush your teeth, you already take your shower. So now in between, you are putting the sandwich stuffing, and that is your exercise. That is a whole sandwich, right? One bread is what you already do. You wake up, you brush your teeth, then you put the stuffing in, your exercise, and then the second bread on top, and that is your shower. That's what we call habit sandwiches. You also can just link it to one other habit. Like if you decide to start learning Italian, I'm learning Italian right now. So what I do every day that I do my walk, and I do my walk every day at night after dinner, I sit down and learn Italian for 15 minutes, right? So for me now, it's 15 minutes. Again, starting small, but doing it every single day. I'm on a 72nd day of streak. And that's because I told myself, I'm not going to overwhelm myself with all the books and grammar, etc. that I can be learning in Italian. No, I'm not going to be able to maintain that. Instead, I'm going to use Duolingo app and going to do it 15 minutes every day after I finish my walk. And then I'm going to make a cup of tea and do my evening reading. So that's how I did it for my Italian. And I'm on day 72. And it was a new habit for me. And it works. And it works for people in general. That's how our brain works. When you connect it with something you already do, when you sandwich it in, it becomes a part of the routine you already do. And then, of course, answering the question how, when, and where eliminates all the decisions that sometimes when you begin a habit, you don't want to be making. You don't want to be waking up and like, where is my clothing? Where is my mat? Where is my exercise? Where is my video? No, all of those things have to be taken care of before you start the habit. And that's how you make the habit building much faster and much easier, right? So first, this recipe, how, when, and where, you put it in between habits you already do. You celebrate it after you finish habit, and while you're doing that, also celebrate, also make yourself feel good. And just make it tiny, make it simple, start small, consistency first, intensity second. Just like with my Italian, I did not start, it was my mistake before, I did not start with like an hour long routine of reading, writing, listening, and all that stuff. No, I'm gonna build consistency first. And so I'm almost done with all the levels of Italian in Duolingo, probably gonna be done in the next it's a couple of weeks. And then after that, I'm going to ramp up the intensity because the consistency is already there. You got the idea, guys. So do not forget about these 3 things and you'll build any habit much faster than most of the people out there. And also, don't forget to share this piece of information, this advice about habits with anyone around you who is struggling to build their habits. Maybe your parents, maybe your spouses, maybe your kids, whoever they are, if they're struggling with doing a thing that they want to do consistently, then also teach them. Also, when you teach that, you get to learn it twice, and also you're more likely to stick with it because now you're like, well, if I'm teaching that, I got to be doing that, right? This kind of alignment with your own values, it kicks in, and you also are more likely to start using the same things yourself much faster. So share this, teach other people, rate our podcast so it reaches more people and we get to teach more people together. If you want to have a session with me, personal session where I'm going to walk you through all the protocols, through all the specific habits that you want to build, I have an email, angela@brainbreakthroughcoach.com. There is an hour session available as listener to this podcast. If you mention this podcast, I make sure I'm going to give you a good discount. And that's it, guys. Also, check out 1000 Here Young on Instagram, where I'm going to be making videos sometime this week about this habit building process for myself. So stay connected, share, teach others, and till next time, start practicing these habit building tools. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned tomorrow for creativity and learning episode. And I'll talk to you very soon.